Harry's wife. Will the TIG work? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Harry's wife once ran the TIG. It was a blog, and on it, as I've lampooned her in The Stig, she treated her readers to her musings on fashion, travel, food. It was not particularly interesting. It was full of sound bites, quotes that she purloined from elsewhere, short, uninteresting interviews with people that we'd never heard of. Its level of success is difficult to ascertain. I doubt that it could sustain her with a living of itself. Instead, it would be seen more as a side hustle to what she was doing acting-wise. It's evident also that she would engage in the utilisation of material from other people rather than come up with anything particularly novel herself, which of course is demonstrative of the type of narcissist that she is, namely one that lacks imagination, application and effort. The problem that Harry's wife has is that her narcissism caters to her laziness. She has nothing interesting to offer, that she's unlikely to want to sit and try and think about something that's novel, interesting, captivating to write about. Instead, her narcissism would guide her to try and pinch somebody else's idea, pinch somebody else's speech, pinch somebody else's quote, pinch somebody else's experience, doing all of those things by virtue of character trait acquisition, something which narcissists regularly engage in, and then passing that off as her own experience in order to assert control over the readership and to draw fuel from their responses and to generate the residual benefit of money. The TIG blog lasted for a number of years, and there's certainly quite a lot of material that was generated on it. It does appear that for the most part, this was done by her as a one-woman band. And as mentioned, the level of income that generated by it is unlikely to have been significant to allow her to rely upon it as a sole staple. It was also utilised, of course, to get freebies. For instance, when she travelled to either Malta or Cyprus, under the auspices of doing a piece about the island and its history, it just turned into a holiday for her and floozying around some restaurants, leaving the relevant tourist agency grossly disappointed in her input, but once again, unsurprising behaviour of the grifting Duchess. There's repeated talk that she's going to resurrect the TIG because she's running out of options with regard to where is she going to go to next. She played at being a royal, and that didn't meet with any success because she railed against the very institution that she should have embraced and harnessed. She then ran away across the sea, playing the victim for a number of years. That generated some sympathy, some money, some interest, but that largely has dried up as beating the same drum about victimisation and racism and then retracting that they had been experiencing racism, or at least saying we never suggested it was racist, became very tiresome fairly quickly. And other than the rump of deluded sugars, the majority of fair-minded individuals have thought either this didn't happen and you're making it up, or, well, it may well have happened, but there's no need to keep going on and on and on about it. It's boring, repetitive, and dull. Accordingly, alongside this, she sought other gigs. She sought to write, got her nowhere, dabbled with politics, got her nowhere, looked at philanthropy, couldn't be bothered, started a 40 by 40 thing, but that didn't go anywhere. And the reason being is that Harry's wife's approach to life is, give me the money and I might do something eventually. But actually, you should just pay me because, hey look, it's me, Harry's wife. She believes that her own attendance merits payment of vast sums of money without actually providing anything in return. She talked about in Australia how she couldn't believe she wasn't being paid to do a walkabout. She believes that whenever she deigns to involve herself with the little people, that she ought to be paid for it because she is the amazing Harry's wife. Everybody is delighted to meet her, stunned and amazed by what she has to say. I've listened to many speeches in my time across a range of individuals in terms of source matter and delivery. And I have to say that despite my extensive experience, I have never found anybody as boring as her when it comes to delivering a speech. Self-absorbed, with nothing meaningful to say, recounting the same things over and over again, and managing to say absolutely nothing in the space of 20 minutes or so of flapping her gums. Giving speeches is not something that is a forte for her. And thus, having run out of opportunities, it seems that the TIG might be the last vestige of hope for her, and thus to resurrect it as a means of earning money. However, remember, Harry's wife has now become accustomed to rather expensive tastes. Ginger Bollocks may well be running out of money. The deals are being rowed back, and therefore she needs something new. But will it be sufficient to cover annual expenditure, which is rumoured to be somewhere in the region of at least $5 million in terms of staff and security, etc.? Throw in as well what she spends on PR and her expensive proclivities for Sean. One is looking at a significant outlay, meaning that she would have to earn millions of dollars each year just to cover what she spends. This wouldn't be such an issue if she was a talented actress or writer who could be harnessed as a consequence of being well liked and having her fame, that even if she was a moderate writer, people would think, oh yes, I like the Duchess of Sussex, and she could be assisted with a ghostwriter and pump out a series of instantly forgettable but nevertheless entertaining enough novels and make millions through that. But of course, Harry's wife always has to interfere. She can't let advisors advise. She always knows best because that's her narcissism, her style of narcissism that needs to interfere, that needs to micromanage, which means that not only does she piss people off so they end up leaving her employ, but it also means that either nothing gets done or what does get done is substandard because it has all of the hallmarks of Harry's wife rather than actual skilled experts. With the TIG, what would it cover? Well, presumably food, fashion, travel, lifestyle, wellness, some form of philanthropy as well. Well, there are plenty of blogs out there that already cover these things. It's a crowded marketplace. So she would need to stand apart. One way, of course, she would have been able to do that is as a consequence of the fact that she's well known. But the problem is, these days, because of her toxic behaviours, her lies, her revisions of history, her contradictions, and the scrutiny of her behaviours, it means that she's unpopular. And therefore, other than a solid rump of die-hard supporters, who of themselves are probably not of the greatest socio-economic group that would support her, but nor numerically would they generate sufficient income. Naturally, the grandiosity of her narcissism directs her to believe that she could emulate Kim Kardashian and Gwyneth Paltrow with regard to, Kourtney Kardashian rather, and Gwyneth Paltrow with regard to their lifestyle brands. As you know from parts past, Gwyneth Paltrow is a narcissist, but she again has talent, a decent enough actress, but somebody who has understood a market where she can, quite laughably, flog eggs up your vag to people for large amounts of money alongside other preposterous schemes, but she does so because she is an adept businesswoman. She undoubtedly will listen to experts, her form of narcissism harnessing those individuals to get to the prime aims rather than fighting against it. And she has created an empire that has caused her to be worth somewhere in the region of $200 million. Harry's wife would love to emulate this, but the problem is she's not going to be able to. The reason is she lacks the imagination to do so, she lacks the work ethic to do so, and she lacks the ability to listen to other people who would be able to enhance what she has and point her in the right direction and harness it in a manner which would provide the returns. She believes that she knows best. A combination of the fact that she has no raw talent, A combination of the fact that she won't listen to people, that she thinks she knows best, a combination of her unpopularity, and the fact that ultimately she's lazy. If she were the type of narcissist that was industrious and was prepared to recognise that the input of others could be harnessed, even using those people to get to where she needed to be, there would be the opportunity for success. But the way that Harry's wife's style of narcissism works is that, first of all, she thinks she knows better than anybody. She doesn't need to listen to you. Thus, she creates elementary mistakes. She has no talent to begin with to build a foundation upon. And she doesn't like hard work. 1 hour a week at Archwell, the dire output with regard to Netflix and Spotify. And therefore, in the circumstances, the repeated rumours about the Tig resurrecting won't go away. But if it does, it's another project that's going to be doomed to failure because of the way that her narcissism works. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.